We read countless books. During high school, we study some random subjects like English literature in the Middle Ages or some shit. Then we go on to study how human body works, like I'm talking about doctors. And some people go on to study engineering behind planes. We study our whole lives. We study so much, but we neglect to study the most important system, concept, machine, thing, whatever you call it. We neglect to study our own minds. How crazy is it? Like 100% of your time you literally spend in your mind. Every thought, every impulse, every passion, every interest, even your discipline is part of your mind. The reality you see is basically an image constructed with your brain and mind when it receives raw external input to it. Despite all of that, we study engineering our whole lives, but do not spend even 1 hour per week to understand ourselves. Like, think about it. How many hours per week do you study in school or university? And how many hours per week you study your own mind? Your literal vehicle of your soul. Zero for most people. And then we wonder, why my mental health is so bad? Why am I depressed? Why my purpose, discipline is so fucked up? That's because you never explored your own mind. There are two ways you can do that. There are two ways you can explore your mind and also heal your traumas. Imagine how powerful you will become if you remove all of your insecurities. Like, we have deep insecurities, every one of us. We have a lot of self-limiting beliefs that stagnate us in our lives. First way to explore your own mind is, of course, journaling. The process of writing down your thoughts on a piece of paper so that you can examine it closer. Think about it like, do you know when doctors approach you and do this weird shit with your eyeballs when they put light into it to see whether your liver was working or not? Or when doctors take your blood test, like imagine that a small part of you, a drop of your blood is enough for them to determine whether you have a disease or not. They take a drop of your blood, examine it closely in the lab, and then find out about your hormones and predict whether you will die like in the next 10 years or something. Just from the drop of your blood. That's how you should think about journaling. Like, you extract a part of your mind, and then you study it close to understand yourself. You will see why you become negative, what causes anger for you, what causes happiness, and so on and so forth. How I did it is, every time I felt anger, envy, joy, or any emotion, like, and basically feel that right now you're more happy than usual or more angry than usual, I would grab a notebook and then write down my exact thoughts. Yeah, today someone was interrupted me during the conversation and I felt quite resentful. Like, it's just, and I write down, like, it's just usual part of life to be interrupted. Like, no big deal, you can adjust to it. But why do I get so frustrated? Is it this particular situation, or do I generally get very angry when someone interrupts me? And by the way, if you get angry when someone interrupts you, like, you become too emotional, it probably speaks of your deep insecurities. Yeah, you might think that this is a normal reaction for a person when someone interrupts him, but it's actually not. Like, if you imagine a perfect, cold-hearted man who is completely aware of his own mind, strong, successful person, when someone interrupts him, he just adjusts. Like, he will either disengage with the person or find some other ways to set up his dominance or something. Like, he will think in a cold-hearted manner, how can I do the best action I can do? But if you're being emotional, yes, this person interrupted me, I need to have revenge. It speaks of your insecurities. And anyway, like, let's continue to the journaling example. Like, I write down, why do they get so resentful? Is it this particular situation, or do I generally get very resentful when someone interrupts me? Then you start brainstorming, like, the similar situations that happened in the past where you became emotional and frustrated when someone interrupts you. And usually you will end up with some childhood trauma. That's how you do it. Like, you become aware of your own thought process. And for the first few months, I think it's not going to be like really comfortable. You will not have a habit yet. So you will you will not trust your notebook. Yeah, it sounds weird, but what that means is that you need to literally build a trust relationships with your notebook, because when you write down your thoughts for the first time, you have never done that before. Of course, it will feel uncomfortable. It's like, when you only are learning to read, or when you're only learning a new language, it feels very weird because you're doing it for the first time. Only after some practice, it will become easy for you. You have to get used to the action of examining your mind. Like, you track down, like, your traumatic event of being interrupted. Like, You might end up finding out that when you were like 9 years old of age, you were socially ostracized. Like people were considering you creepy and wouldn't talk to you. So you have deep social validation problem. And now every time someone interrupts you, like it's a sign of a small disrespect. You start remembering like your childhood events when you were socially ostracized. You start to associate this social isolation with the fact that someone interrupted you, even though like one small interruption is quite a common occurrence even among like successful people. It's not because of your fault. Like it's just part of life. It's like tripping down the road. Like sometimes it happens, but somehow you tie it down to your childhood past event, and then you become really defensive and emotional because now you think like you're at the danger of being socially isolated again. That's how it happens, and you will only see it when you journal a lot. And some people think they can just think about it in their life, like reflect back in your mind, just lying down in bed. It doesn't work, bro. That's why you need to write it down. Don't be stupid and lie down and trying to heal yourself and reflect back in your own mind. It's just plain stupid. Not gonna work. I tried it. Not gonna work. Not comparable to the journaling session. Don't be lazy. The second part of the video is how you should heal your trauma. Now, let me give you an example. Like 1 month ago, I was sitting in the class in university, and when teacher asks a question, I feel like fear in my gut. I feel anxiety. My heart starts beating fast. I'm terrified when teacher is asking some questions, and I wonder why, because I don't really have problem even giving speeches in front of the crowd. Like I write down that I'm not afraid of speaking like in front of the crowd. Why do I get so anxious, specifically in academic circumstances, like when I sit down in the class or and when the teacher is asking some questions? And then I journal more and more, and I start to reflect on all the situations where I felt anxious in the class. And I found out few interesting instances that were causing this for me. And the most important trauma that was causing this for me was when I was 4 years old of age, and when I was in kindergarten, the teacher is teaching us about snow, like what is snow, why does it happen, and this shit. And then the female teacher, says like, uh, choose an adjective to describe snow. And I'm like raising my hand anxiously. I wanted to answer. And I said, warm. I thought I was right. I was like kind of preparing to get praise from the teacher. And then the teacher says, it was completely wrong. The teacher laughs at me. Like she scorns me. And then all of the other children in the class laugh at me. And I feel horrible. Now you admit it, like you need to write down every vivid detail, remember. Because this event was so traumatic for me, I remember everything. I remember like the specific side of the window. I remember like slightly the faces of the teachers, the faces of the children. I can literally just close my eyes and relive this moment as if it happened yesterday. You write this thing down, and how you heal your trauma is like you imagine every single detail vividly, and then you live through it. You try to remember like the exact feelings you had. Maybe you felt fear, embarrassment. I can literally feel it even right now. I feel slight nudges of embarrassment when I think about it. What you need to do is you need to relive this moment 100 times now. Close your eyes and relive this moment exactly as it happened. Don't bullshit yourself. Don't sugarcoat yourself. Don't say, yeah, I was just a child. No, admit you made a stupid mistake and that's why you were embarrassed. Admit it. Admit your fear. Admit every feeling you had and live through the moment like 100 times. After you do it 100 times, you will no longer give a shit, bro. Like, when you lie down in bed and remember some embarrassing moment from long time ago, or maybe the embarrassing moment that happened yesterday or 1 week ago. And like you constantly keep coming back to this memory of you being embarrassed. It seems to never go away. You know how you defeat it? Like, if you just lie down and think about it 100 times, don't sugarcoat anything, admit it, like, I made a mistake, or I made this, I deserve this. I did it, and relive this moment 100 times. After that, you will no longer give a shit. You will never remember it in the middle of the night again, because you just admitted it completely with all of your heart. Now, after you have done that, now you need to reframe it in a different way. Like, it's a concept I have read from the book of meditation by Marcus Aurelius. He talks about like everything that happens to you is basically determined by fate. It's just part of life. Like, we feel like, oh, my parents have died, or someone bullied me in school. how difficult is my life. It's like pure evil forces for acting upon you, but it's not true. It's completely natural part of life. Everything you think is like unnatural and evil is actually a part of your life. Like it's part of life. It was supposed to happen. Think about it this way. When you were literally only born, only climbing out of your mother's womb. At that point, it was already determined that after 15 years, you will have your embarrassing moments. It was, it was bound to happen. It was woven by fate to happen. You can't change it. You just need to accept it. And the fact that we all think that our struggles are unique, it's not that unique. Every single embarrassing moment you had, every single trauma, it already happened before you to countless number of people, even before you were born. 20,000 years ago, the same situation you're experiencing right now already happened to someone else. It's just part of life. You have to accept it. And like to actually heal your trauma, you need to live through the moment. Now you admit that it's just natural part of your life. The third thing is also the concept from meditations is that you need to be like proud that it happened to you because it is actually what makes you who you are. These traumatic events actually define you. And the fact that you decided to remain unharmed by all the traumas you had should make you feel proud. Let's remember the most embarrassing thing that happened to you in life. Like think about it in that way. Like if it happened to someone else, they would probably commit suicide or something. But I decided to remain unharmed by it and even grow stronger from the situation. Like this is what I literally write down. Like, this similar situation happened to countless people, and most of them decided to be weak, to find out excuses, to use it an excuse for the rest of their lives. Yeah, I was bullied as a child. That's why I'm now afraid to confront people. Or you can take another option. I was fucking bullied as a child. Now that's why I want to become stronger so that it never happens again. Like you decide the outcome. You can't change the situation. It was supposed to happen by fate, remember? You remain unharmed by it and you take pride in it. You know the thing when your father is alcoholic, there are two pathways for you. To either also become an alcoholic. This is what weak people do. This is what weak men do. They let the situation get in their heads and experience self-pity. What you need to do is decide, I will remain unharmed by it, and you will never drink alcohol again because your father was alcoholic. Like the same situation, but two different outcomes. You choose which life path you want to pursue. The path of growth and happiness. Yes, there's also a lot of suffering, bro, and I'm not gonna lie. Or the path of weakness and regret. That's how I became aware of like major traumas in my life. Like there are countless of them. I'm trying to heal them. Every day I journal for 20 minutes and find out about new problem I have. I hope you can use it well.